You could say that I'm a bit of an old head when it comes to the expectations of released video games. Before consoles had internet connectivity, if a game you bought was a buggy mess, there was nothing you could do about it, except try to keep playing it, or simply move on and accept the loss. Nowadays, patches can breathe new life into games written off as failures, and things like Steam Early Access enables players to willingly play unfinished games to assist developers in polishing a full release. Active DBG, Brave's Rage, is one such game, being in early access for a year before officially releasing in April 2023. Also, I'll be referring to the game as Brave's Rage for the remainder of the video to preserve my sanity. Brave's Rage is a deck-building roguelike game where you set out on the very original adventure of rescuing a kidnapped princess from a dragon. You begin a run by selecting your starting character, or Brave, and set out for a series of tentpole roguelike encounters, normal and enhanced combat, random events, shops, etc. A nice touch Brave's Rage has is a clearly defined challenge progression consisting of a path of nodes that slowly ramp up the difficulty. Each tier has a reward that can include additional Braves, skins for existing Braves, and new areas to explore in your subsequent playthroughs. Each challenge level also has a unique ending dialogue that moves the loose narrative forward in some capacity. In each run, you select an area and explore a grid of square tiles while working toward a boss fight on the opposite side. Each tile has one of the aforementioned typical roguelike encounters, but will sometimes simply have a blocking obstacle that you must navigate around. As you continue your adventure, you'll collect cards for your deck, equipable items to enhance your Braves, EXP points to spend on skills, coins to spend on services and at shops, and food that the tooltip states will decrease for every grid space you move, reducing HP by 2 for every space traveled without food. I say that it states that it will decrease because at the time of this review it doesn't actually go down. Since food doesn't go down, it actually exists as a form of currency that can be used in random events or at healing springs to heal more HP for your party. At the end of each combat encounter, you will have rewards to choose from, or the option to skip rewards for additional EXP points or food. While exploring the grid is still technically a tree of nodes, I find it a refreshing take on the roguelike deck building formula. There are 5 different types of cards divided by color, such as red for melee, green for defensive, etc. Every Brave has a pool of cards with a focus on specific mechanics that match their playstyle, but these cards are only added to your possible rewards when that character is in your party. Cards of any type can be played by any character, but there is a benefit of matching colors to specific characters. Each Brave is matched to a specific card type, and has a unique max move that can be activated when they use 3 cards of their matching type. Max moves can turn the tide in a battle, and add to the list of tactical elements to consider when making combat decisions. Combat is where Brave's Rage justifies the active portion of its name, by utilizing an active time battle system. There are many moving parts of combat at first glance, but these pieces work together to create a really engaging depth. Cards played will apply to the currently selected character, which can be changed using the tab key. Enemies also telegraph the action they will take when their action bar fills, such as melee or ranged attacks, idling, or casting buffs and debuffs. When attacking, there is a travel time for both player and enemy attacks that can be used to have more control over the battle. For example, if a ranged attack is fired at a character, that character can use a melee card to move forward and dodge the attack before it connects. There are also cards that will displace enemies, pausing their action bar until they return to their starting position. Another mechanic that Brave's Rage wants you to focus on is perfect blocking. Just before an enemy deals damage, they will turn red, and playing a green defensive card during this window results in a perfect block. Different items and characters generally gain bonuses when perfectly blocking, so they're important to go for as often as possible. Perfect blocks are made easier to land through a bullet time mechanic, where hovering your mouse cursor over a card will slow time and give you an opportunity to correctly time your block or assess the situation. Brave's Rage is a curious case, because it's a game that leaves me unable to decide if I think it's good or bad. On one hand, the game has some issues that you think would not be present in a 1.0 release of a game, such as cards having inaccurate descriptions and other bugs that can be found the longer you play the game. But on the other hand, despite these issues, I keep playing it because I'm having a lot of fun. While the food system is certainly either bugged or just incorrectly explained, there are pros and cons to how it's described to work and how it actually works. If the food mechanic worked as described, it would certainly increase the complexity of the game by a fair margin. You don't start with enough food to make it to the boss without making strategic decisions, such as skipping some rewards to gain more food. But since it doesn't actually go down, this increases the risk-reward of exploration because the player can explore the entire grid, increasing the chances of encountering negative events or having low HP when it's time to fight the boss. It's hard to tell what the intended experience with food should be, but I can definitely say something is wrong in the current state of the game. There are also some strange decisions and lack of common quality of life features that made the game more difficult at the beginning than I think it should be, especially if you want people to continue playing your game. For example, in your first run, the only available character is fairly complex, especially when compared to other characters you unlock for just making a first attempt, and the character from the tutorial, described as beginner-friendly, isn't unlocked until after you've beaten the game for the first time. As for quality of life problems, during random events that allow you to select a card reward, there is no preview of the card. This means that unless you've seen the card before, you won't know what it does until after it's chosen. The UI is also a bit confusing at first, and while it certainly gets the job done, I can't say it clearly presents information to the player at first glance. Playing the game more and unlocking more characters and cards does make the game easier, but some people, especially on Steam, will refund the game before reaching that point because it doesn't have the best first impression. Despite all of this, I'm hesitant to write off the game because many problems I've personally encountered are relatively small and can easily be fixed with patches. But it's also unclear if the game is still being actively supported. At the time of writing this review, the last update posted to the Steam page was in April 2023, but there are mentions of bugs in the Steam discussions after April 2023 that I've not encountered, so I don't know if the game is still receiving patches. Brave's Rage, while far from bug-free, is a game with a charming art style and a very refreshing and engaging approach to the roguelike deck-building genre. While the bugs I've personally encountered have not been game-breaking, they are still distracting and take away from an otherwise enjoyable experience. I don't regret purchasing Brave's Rage, and I'd say if you're still interested in the game after this review, definitely check it out. But it's difficult to recommend in good faith given the unwelcome discovery of bugged cards mid-playthrough, and not knowing if there are more updates on the horizon. Thanks for watching, take care, and remember, keep having fun.